4 things you should expect from a good commercial real estate broker before you get in the car and go tour buildings. My name's Eric Sexton, and I've been selling commercial real estate to business owners and business executives for 20 years, helping them find the right buildings to grow and operate their business. If you like this video and you think it's helpful, hit subscribe and follow me on YouTube. Use your broker to help define what you actually need in a building. Do you need a lot of office? Do you need a lot of warehouse space? Do you need it for manufacturing? Do you need it for distribution? By having this conversation with your broker, you'll understand if a building is really adequate and worth the time of going to go tour it. You should be working with your broker, and they should be working for you to really identify the kind of building you need. The obvious ones are obviously retail or office or industrial, but even in the world of industrial, do you need the building for manufacturing or distribution? And those elements will really help you understand key points like power requirements, parking requirements. Do you need a dock high door and a grade level door? Really go over your criteria and give them musts, because this will save you time down the road when you actually get in the car and go tour. The reason you as a client should really make your broker work for you is to save you time. Let's say I'm working as a landlord broker and I'm going to go meet a potential tenant with their broker, and I get to the property and they walk right in and say, "This won't work," and you wasted your time driving across town. That was the fault of the tenant broker. They should be giving their client information as far as what the roll-up door height is, what the office layout is, and often the broker won't put that information in front of their client, and then they're wasting everybody's time. There are things like floor plans and pictures that will give you an idea of what the layout is, and you should be looking at that information before you actually drive down to the property, and you'd be surprised how often this happens. So me as a broker, before I go meet another potential client or even another broker, I will vet them with a ton of questions as far as like what the company does, what their budget is, what part of town they want to be in. And more often than not, 10 questions can get me to the point whether it's going to be a waste of time to tour them or not. Second thing is, your broker should help you put together a realistic budget. There's no point in going to go look at a building that costs $50,000 a month when your budget is $5,000 a month. So have a realistic expectation of what you can afford every month, and only tour properties that are in those parameters. I can give a ton of examples of people I've toured buildings and they are completely out of their budget. This actually happened to me today. I happened to be in the area, and a commercial broker called me and asked if I could go unlock a building. I got down there. As we're walking through the building, I asked the client what his budget was. He told me the rent actually happened to be double of what he could afford. His business just wasn't ready to take on that kind of monthly overhead, but his agent should have not wasted his time and asked him what the budget is, then asked me what the rent was, and he could have just crossed that one off the list because he took some time to ask the right questions. The third thing is have your financials ready. Anybody that you're going to be renting a space from or even buying a building, the bank is going to ask you for your financials to write a loan, and a landlord is going to need your financials to approve your application. They're going to need things like 2 years of taxes, current profit and loss, balance sheet, bank statements. So have these files ready to send over, because the longer it takes you to get those to the owner, the longer it's going to take them to either deny or approve your application, and you probably want to know that answer as soon as possible. So if you're working with a broker, ask them a list of financial information that you might need to provide to a banker or to a landlord in order to get your application approved. Our lease applications actually have a checklist on the front page to make it super easy for you. It lists things like the credit check, a copy of your driver's license, and then the financial documents I just mentioned a second ago. Number 4 is become familiar with the part of town you're looking at. If your broker sends you a list of properties for lease, take some time, plug in those addresses into Google Earth and really understand where they are, because if your broker just sets up a tour bouncing all over the valley, you're going to be stuck in traffic and going to buildings that you really don't need to go to because you don't want to be in those areas. Plug in the addresses into Google, click around a little bit, find out what is in the area and see if it's really a part of town you want to be in. I'll give you a perfect example. I was dealing with a 20,000 square foot manufacturing company. We found a great building, but then the guy who runs the company drove around and he said, "Hey, there's no amenities here. Where is the staff going to go get lunch?" A big issue for him was people's ability to get to restaurants in about 5 minutes. He didn't want a staff wasting time in their 45-minute break driving 20 minutes to their favorite restaurants. Even though that location worked for them, it didn't work for him because he wanted somewhere where he knew his staff had enough time to go get lunch. It was an important variable for him, and we could have saved that time if by just clicking around Google and realizing that that building didn't have that many amenities in the neighborhood. Now, this might be a list of some low-level things that you should be doing before you tour a building, but this is at minimum what your broker should be doing for you. If you find this information valuable, click subscribe below, give me a thumbs up. This is a big help in me growing this channel.